Dark clouds loomed over the city, shrouding it in a chilling veil of mystery. Dim streetlights flickered in narrow alleys, futilely trying to pierce through the dense shadows. In this atmospheric landscape stood Simon, a solitary young man, who had lost faith in a bright future. He lived an ordinary, mundane life, as if chained to indifferent routines. The endless weekdays and a job that barely resembled his dream of becoming an explorer and adventurer were slowly fading his aspirations away. Yet, beneath the surface of his everyday existence, a plague lurked in his mind, spreading fear through his veins. Simon suffered from a rare brain disease that made him feel his consciousness gradually crumbling, familiar faces vanishing, replaced by oppressive emptiness. The darkness consuming his mind offered no respite. He fought the consequences of his affliction, finding solace only in his own solitude. He tried to conceal his condition from those around him, but the knowledge of the impending darkness tormented his soul. Every night, in his dreams, he witnessed grim visions and heard whispers of fear that paralyzed him with cold terror. Dreams and reality blurred, and Simon drowned in a sea of meaningless visions. It continued this way until one Sunday morning, after another sleepless night, he received a strange message. A piece of paper adorned with cosmic symbols and ominous signs arrived seemingly from otherworldly realms. He was invited to a mysterious institute promising answers to his questions, which mingled suspicion with hope. Simon's heart pounded as he stood before the institute's entrance, as if his gut refused to let him inside, sensing the enigmatic nature of the place. His legs trembled, but time waits for no one, and he opened the tall door, taking a step toward healing. With determination in his eyes, Simon ventured into the mysterious institute, unaware of what awaited him inside and whether he would find a way out. Under the merciless sky, far away from the light of day, heavy black clouds gathered over the grim institute building. It stood surrounded by an abandoned garden where dead trees contorted into dreadful figures, as if guarding evil secrets. The bricks of the building appeared eroded by time, and its windows were veiled by thick curtains, as if seeking to conceal the world from the mysteries within. Slowly, Simon approached the black gates, as if an invisible force pulled him towards this place. The gates creaked and groaned as he approached them, as if foreboding the mysterious dangers that lay beyond their threshold. The entrance to the institute was like a portal to another world, somber and inexplicable. Stepping over the doorstep, Simon found himself in a long corridor bathed in ominous darkness. His footsteps echoed emptily, as if the sounds of lost souls petrified within the walls. The initial encounter with the staff was mysterious. He didn't see a single smiling or friendly face. The eyes of the nurses were dark and deep, like windows to a ruthless abyss. Suddenly, Simon came across Dr. Catherine Black, who looked nothing like the other doctors. Her appearance was impeccably neat, but her eyes were veiled in profound darkness, as if hiding a forgotten secret. Clad in a black cloak that seemed to absorb light, she walked silently, akin to a whisper in the night. Catherine spoke with an extraordinary confidence, as if she knew Simon's hidden thoughts, fears, and desires. Her voice was calm and unwavering, as if she was the guardian of the Institute's secrets. She didn't promise miracles. Instead, she warned that the path to healing would be unpredictable and full of difficulties. Simon sensed that Dr. Black knew more than she was willing to reveal, concealing much behind her composed demeanor. Her presence was alluring and simultaneously terrifying, and he understood that she was more than just a doctor. She was a guardian of the mysterious world within the Institute. Meeting Catherine left Simon with a feeling that by entering the Institute, he had crossed a challenging threshold between the world of the living and the world of the dead, and now he had become a part of this grim and enigmatic saga. In every corner, secrets and dangers lurked. Perhaps the healing he sought would result in a new life, where the world of the living and the dead merged in the dense fog of the unknown future. The scent of chemicals and the metallic glimmer of the cold laboratory mingled in the air, creating a specific atmosphere. Simon stood before a closed door, feeling his heart tighten with anxiety. Beyond this door lay the dreadful secrets of the Institute. He heard whispers and faint footsteps inside, as if shadows stirred between the walls, beckoning him towards mysterious experiments. Simon couldn't take his eyes off the door. He somehow knew that behind it awaited dangers he had never faced before. It seemed as if the Institute tried to penetrate his mind and brain, filling his soul with horror. Soon, the door slowly opened, emitting a swirling, dusky light, as if from the depths of a bottomless pit. A familiar female figure invited him inside, revealing a gloomy laboratory world where human consciousness underwent terrifying trials. Nurses in white coats moved quietly and enigmatically among the instruments and tables, like executors of fate. Their eyes were hollow and devoid of human emotions, their hands moved mechanically like machines. Simon felt he had become the object of observation, like a creature in a glass cage. He saw dark chambers where people underwent strange experiments, like puppets in the hands of heartless scientists. Electrodes were attached to heads, and monitors tracked every change in the subjects' brains. Simon realized that human life was subjected to merciless experiments here, all in pursuit of something more mysterious and horrifying. Dr. Black, with her dark eyes shining, approached him and pointed to a ghastly chair with straps, quietly saying, "Come here, Simon. We seek the key to the mysteries of human consciousness and the brain. Perhaps you will find healing here, but you will also confront something that will make you question what is real and what is illusion." Her eerie speech put Simon on edge, but his body was no longer his own. Simon felt a chilling cold run down his spine. He understood that in this dark place, his fate and consciousness would be completely under the Institute's control. He became a puppet in the hands of unknown forces willing to sacrifice anything for their secret purposes. Thus began his introduction to the abyss of dark experiments, where human consciousness became a plaything in the hands of ruthless scientists. He realized there was no turning back. He had become a hostage to his own healing, immersed in the abyss of fear and madness that lay behind the walls of this enigmatic institute. Simon was offered experimental treatment methods whose dangers he didn't fully comprehend. But hope for healing had taken root in his heart, and he couldn't simply refuse such an opportunity. Catherine's cold gaze transformed into a sinister smile as she approached Simon, holding a capsule with an unknown substance in her hands. "This is an experimental medicine," she uttered, as if offering a sacrifice to malevolent gods. "It can penetrate the depths of your brain and reprogram your consciousness. You may forget your sufferings and pain, but it might come with dreadful consequences." Simon stared at the capsule, realizing that he couldn't decline this offer. The enigmatic and perilous nature of the medicine evoked concern. What will happen if something goes wrong? He asked, trying to contain the trembling in his voice. "No one knows," Dr. Black replied with a predatory tone. "But there is a chance that you will find the healing you've longed for." Simon sighed, and Catherine looked at him attentively, relishing the moment. Then she handed him the capsule. He swallowed it with difficulty, feeling it slide into his stomach like a seed of fear. Soon after, strange events began to unfold. Simon started experiencing hallucinations, as if his consciousness was whisked away to other worlds and dimensions. Leaving his own body, he encountered the shadows of past traumas and creatures from his own nightmares. Each minute of treatment seemed like an eternity, and pain and suffering permeated his being. However, amidst this chaos, he also discovered mysterious oases of hope. As his consciousness traveled through the veil of reality, he saw images of those he loved and who needed his healing. He felt his consciousness expanding like stars in the sky, and the secrets of the universe became open to his eyes. Simon understood that this medicine was changing him. It opened the door to the unknown and demanded sacrifices. But he couldn't stop. His last hope for healing lay in this journey. He was willing to endure all horrors to find salvation. Days and nights merged into a continuous flow of experiments, and Simon became something new, unknown, and enigmatic. He became a blend of his fears and dreams, hopes and horrors. His consciousness expanded like infinite space, and he felt connected to a world that remained unknown to others. However, no one knew what the ultimate result of this experiment would be. Simon remained a mysterious enigma, an essence that couldn't be fully understood. He became a blend of light and darkness, hope and despair. And while Dr. Black watched him with interest, he sensed that his fate was already in the hands of this sinister place. Under the influence of the experimental medicine, Simon's consciousness began to wander separately from his physical body, as if breaking free from the shackles of reality. At first, it felt like a dream, but gradually, he realized that his consciousness existed outside his body, liberated from the constraints of the material world. He hovered over his own body, observing it from the outside, like an invisible spirit. He saw himself lying on the bed, his face contorted with pain, but the body seemed so distant and alien. The sensation of freedom and weightlessness engulfed him, and he understood that his consciousness was now capable of penetrating worlds he had never even imagined before. Venturing into the realm of dreams, where reality and fantasy intertwined in a dark dance, he encountered shadows of his fears and illnesses, roamed through tangled streets of his memories, and saw the world through the eyes of the past. He witnessed secret desires and profound thoughts that had been hidden even from himself. Simon's consciousness became like a transitional being. It revealed previously inaccessible mysteries, delving into the depths of his subconscious. He saw his darkest thoughts, fears, and doubts that he tried to forget, but now they stood before him like ghosts unwilling to let him go. He delved into a realm of hidden desires, where the boundaries between good and evil blurred. He saw himself in different roles, experiencing emotions not typical in everyday life, feeling like a part of a world that was usually beyond the reach of physical eyes. But in the misty world of dreams, other entities existed as well. Dark forces and ominous shadows hunted him, trying to drag him into the abyss of his own nightmares. He felt them lurking at every step, tempting him with various allurements. Returning to reality was always as torturous as the journey to the formless world. Simon's consciousness returned to his physical body, which seemed to contract with suffering. But with each time, he remained somewhat foreign, a hybrid of light and darkness, divided between these two worlds. As Simon wandered through the dark labyrinth of his consciousness, he began to notice strange connections and discrepancies in what was happening in the Institute. His mind, free from ordinary limitations, began to perceive the hidden schemes and motives of Dr. Catherine Black and her team. What he saw didn't fit into the framework of ordinary consciousness. With every step, he realized that the Institute was far from a place of healing. It was a gruesome abode for unfathomable beings. Desperately trying to cling to the edge of reality, Simon unraveled mysteries that led him to a terrifying truth. Dr. Black and her nurses conducted dangerous and horrifying experiments on human consciousness and the brain. They weren't seeking healing, as they claimed. They were merely toying with people's psyches, relishing their fear, and when the victim lost themselves, they were devoured. The Institute's grim corridors bore witness to his discoveries. Everything around him was saturated with an atmosphere of fear and secrecy. Each door, each room held a horrifying secret about the fate of those who found themselves under their control. Catherine turned out to be a master of manipulation, concealing her sinister intentions behind a mask of compassion and care. She studied his reactions, his thoughts related to the experiments, and made changes to the treatment procedures to push the limits of his mental abilities. He soon realized he wasn't the only one subjected to this nightmare. The Institute was filled with secret chambers, housing tormented test subjects like a macabre cellar of preservation. They manipulated the notion of healing and hoped to break the victim's will and gain control over their minds and bodies. Simon, knowing the true purpose of the Institute and Dr. Black's motives, understood he could no longer stay within those walls. A battle for his own life awaited him. In his fight for survival, Simon found himself in a peculiar room of the Institute, as if the way out required solving a puzzle. Behind each door awaited a wall of red bricks, creating a sense of confinement and horrifying isolation. There was no visible exit, only gloomy walls surrounding him from all sides. Simon's heart pounded as he realized he must solve a series of riddles to escape this dreadful chamber. Each riddle was more challenging than the last, and time seemed to stretch endlessly. Every wrong decision only brought him closer to the relentless red wall. He struggled to concentrate, his thoughts blurred and clouded by fear. The crimson walls, still holding his gaze in confinement, seemed bewildering and manipulative. Finally, he managed to solve the first riddle, and the brick wall dissolved, revealing the path to the next room. But the joy of success was short-lived. The next room was even darker and more perplexing. Time slowed down, and the riddles felt infinite. Simon fought with fear that slowly but inexorably gripped his heart. On the verge of his own will, amidst the gloomy rooms, he noticed a window. Strangely, he hadn't noticed it before. But there was no time for contemplation now. Without hesitation, he smashed the window and saw bustling activity beyond the door. He rushed up the fire escape. The frenzied cries of pursuing monsters spurred him, and soon he had to make the final leap across the chasm onto the roof of the adjacent building, which would buy him some time. Gasping for breath, he realized there was no other way. A bitter fear froze in his throat, and his heart pounded so fiercely that it seemed it might leap out of his chest. Before him lay a black abyss, deep and eager to engulf him. Memories of his past, of his family he tried to protect, and all those who suffered because of the Institute and Dr. Black flashed in his mind. Simon looked at the abyss with a sense of desperation and determination. The weighty choice weighed on his soul, but in one decisive moment, his decision turned his life around. Simon took a step back, gathering courage. Then, with burning eyes, he lunged forward, pushing off vigorously from the edge of the roof. For a moment, he felt freedom from all restraints and suffering. However, his leap was unsuccessful. He couldn't reach the neighboring roof and, a moment later, plummeted into the depths of darkness. His scream was drowned out by the howling wind as he fell rapidly, like a lost spirit in this ruthless height. In these final moments of his life, Simon felt a blend of pain, fear, and disappointment. Simon woke up as if from a dream and looked around, feeling a strange sense of déjà vu. The familiar surroundings of his room made him think that everything that happened before was just a horrifying nightmare. Fleeting memories of his life and struggles flashed before his eyes, and he gratefully collapsed onto the bed. The Institute's enigmas, captive subjects, and chambers with bodies. How could he have believed in all that? It was all nonsense. But suddenly, as he opened the door to the living room, he once again came face to face with the red brick wall, just like in his grim dream. His heart pounded faster, and his breathing became heavy and irregular. Panic gripped him once more as he realized that all the past had vanished, and he was trapped again. Simon desperately pounded his fists on the wall, trying to find some crack or crevice. But the wall was relentless. He paced the room back and forth, but every door he found led to the same red wall. Grim memories of his deadly leap from the Institute's rooftop surfaced in his mind. He felt like he couldn't escape this nightmare, that his consciousness was held captive in this dark reality. Desperation and helplessness engulfed him as he realized he never broke free and was now forever forgotten in this grim world, buried beneath the walls of red brick. His voice drowned in silence, and his screams went unanswered. All his efforts were in vain. Nightmares blended with reality, and he could no longer distinguish one from the other. Simon became a prisoner of his own shattered mind, stuck in this endless loop of infinite time. And so he continued to wander through these gloomy rooms, trying to understand what was happening and how to escape this nightmarish trap. But the answer remained elusive, and he became forgotten within this dark world, where time lost its meaning and his soul vanished into the abyss of unsolved riddles.